Nice to see you again, Westchester. It is Friday, October 4th, 2024, and I'm Bonita with the Westchester Chronicle. Though the Gay Street Market is officially over, it does not mean that the downtown is done shutting down. This Sunday the 6th is the return, or should I say revival, of the Westchester Chili Cookoff. Now presented by Fiorenza's Food for Friends, the event features the legendary chili competition where entrants from all walks of life present their chili to the masses. From noon to 4 p.m., you can make your way to Gay Street to test your palate by tasting the spiciest chilies to the sweet. Admission to the event is only $10, and with your entry, you can sample and vote for your favorite chili and crown the newest winner of the People's Choice Award. You can find out more about the event by going over to westchesterchilicookoff.com. We hope to see you there. And speaking of voting in the People's Choice, there are 34 days left until the presidential election on Tuesday, November 5th. If you have not registered to vote already, you can do so by going to vote.pa.gov. The deadline to register to vote is October 21st, and the deadline to register for a mail-in ballot is October 29th. You can also register to vote and find out more about who's on our ballot by going to the Voter Services section of our own chesco.org. It is never too late to register to vote. As you may be aware, Westchester Borough has been discussing the future of how to regulate short-term rentals, such as Airbnbs, within the borough. Several council terms have come and gone since the question was first raised of how to regulate short-term rentals. On numerous occasions, the borough has invited community members, business owners, and tourists to speak their piece about short-term rentals at the Borough Hall in order to help the council refine their ordinances that ensure Westchester keeps its historic charm while balancing the interests of the residents who live here and the people who come to visit. One outspoken supporter of short-term rentals is Tony Saletta, a Westchester resident and the owner of 2 short-term rental properties in the borough. Tony sat down with our field correspondent, AuCiel Hicks, to share his experience and provide his perspective on the issue.
My name is Tony Saletta. I've been a Westchester resident for probably around 25 years, about 20 of those in the borough. We lived in West Goshen before that. I own a property, and the other half of my twin came up for sale. I was able to purchase that. It's 2 apartments, and one of the tenants moved out after being there for a bit, and my wife made the suggestion, why don't we try that? And that's how we got into it. So we were familiar with short-term rentals from travel and family staying with us, and we decided to go for it because of that availability of the rental we had. Community concerns about nuisances in short-term rentals seem to be very much unfounded. If you check with the Westchester Police Department, there's never been a call to come to a short-term rental as long as they can identify. And that's part of the public record at the council meetings. I looked at a Harvard study recently, and it said in a neighborhood setting it may increase the cost of housing by 1.9%. So let's call it 2%. So a $1,500 rental would be increased by $30. Certainly inflation's got a bigger toll on the cost of housing than the cost of the short-term rentals coming into the area. Now, it can be higher in areas, and I don't want to make light of that, but high tourist areas, maybe a New York City or a shore area, that type of thing, it said it can increase housing costs by about 13% or so. I believe we fall in the category more of a neighborhood setting than a high volume tourist attraction type thing. Yeah. The concern being with respect to housing stock, it does take some inventory out of the marketplace. I think there's a bigger problem with ordinance type stuff that makes it more difficult to build. Many places require parking that is almost impossible to deal with in a community that's older. There's something called missing middle housing where they have 2 flats, 3 flats. You can't even be considered to build anything like that in an urban environment anymore because they say, where are you going to park the cars? What are you going to do with the water? That's how immigrants in the early 1900s and stuff were able to do it. They bought a 2-flat, a 3-flat, aunt and uncle on the bottom, mom and dad on top, grandpa, and the kids in the basement. So I mean, it's that type of thing, and I think that has a bigger impact, the missing middle housing, on the cost of on the availability of housing. It's very difficult to build now because of ordinance and regulation. I think there's a place for licensing, safety, making sure there's management present if something comes up. That's all important, and any serious short-term rental owner would agree with that, I believe. The part I'm having a difficult time with is town center only. Essentially, it eliminates virtually all of the rentals. Once you add the town center, once you add the distance, if you got 25 or 30 in town, you'd be lucky to have 3 in Westchester in particular. So, it's the, and I think that lays it over what the experience we want for the hospitality of the people we serve. If you're coming into town, and do you want to stay above, Ryan's Pub with your family and your dog, or do you want to stay in a nice apartment or a nice house, a little, 6 blocks from there rather than on top of it? So I think they're missing the goal of why people use short-term rentals. It's so they don't have to be in that environment. I think that the short-term rentals provide income for the community, people who are, staying in town. They're going to spend money in the restaurants and boutiques. It provides unique solutions for people that have different needs, pets, families traveling. It also gives a different flavor on the community that they might not see if they're just staying in a hotel. They might get to know the neighborhood a little better rather than being in that.
We would like to thank Mr. Saletta for sharing his views with us. As always, we appreciate hearing from local voices. What are your thoughts on Airbnbs in the borough? Should we even have them? How should they be regulated? How do you think they could affect you, your neighbors, and your community? If you'd like to share your perspective, feel free to reach out to us at westchesterchronicle@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And before we conclude today's episode, we would like to wish a happy Rosh Hashanah to those celebrating. We hope you have a healthy and happy new year. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks to your continued support, our team, along with our friends at Align Space, are taking this project to the next level. However, in order to keep this show ad-free, we will need your help. If you appreciate what we do, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon, liking and sharing us on Facebook, and subscribing on YouTube. It's the easiest way to support us and help us bring you the news. And if you'd like to listen to our show via podcast, you can find us on SoundCloud. Finally, if you have a news tip, an event you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hi, you can reach us via email at westchesterchronicle@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Our program is produced by Crimson Planet Media, recorded at Align Space here in downtown Westchester, and our music is by Doug Keller. As always, we want to thank you for your time, and we hope to see you soon. Until then, I'm Bonita with the Westchester Chronicle.